practice. Okay, people should join now. Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2021 Oregon Active Transportation Summit. My name is Maddie Carlson. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Engagement and Events Assistant with the Street Trust. Before we begin our program, the Street Trust would like to acknowledge the land we are occupying. The Portland metro area rests on traditional village sites of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Cathlamet, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Malala, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River. We take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land. Thank you. Welcome to the Transportation Careers Session. Your presenters for this session are Jeff Moreland Jr. and Gwen Shaw, and Brenda Martin, if she's able to join us in progress. ASL interpretation is provided by Stellar Communication. You can type your questions in the chat or use the raise hand tool, both found at the bottom of your screen. Please use the social media hashtag OATS21 to post about the summit on social media. And don't forget to visit our website at thestreettrust.org to learn more about our other programs and activities, including SB 395, aka Safe Routes for All, an update to the historic bike bill on its 50th anniversary that the Street Trust is championing in the Oregon legislature this session. To claim AICP credit for attending this session, please log into the OATS Schedule platform and find the AICP certificate download link near the top of the page. Now, without further delay, please welcome to your screen, Gwen Shaw.
Hello, everyone. I will share my screen, go through a couple of slides, and then stop sharing and just kind of give a little bit of an overview about who I am and what I do. So hopefully you can see this slide deck. In the bottom right corner is a video that is auto playing. And it is the Better NATO project. I'm just going to draw your attention to that real quick. This project was my senior engineering capstone project back in 2015. We did a pop-up version of this. So we temporarily closed one of the lanes to cars and opened it up to people. Over the last 5 years, that has now been done in various stages over the summer by volunteers or by the city, some combination of both. And the ground just broke this past year to build what you are now seeing on the screen below. So just want to draw your attention to that since it auto played. And just
Gwen, I think we're all only seeing the OATS website, which is wonderful, but we're not seeing what you're seeing.
Yeah, give me 1 second and I'll share the correct thing because that's how Zoom works. Let's do this one. And I'll hit play. Can you now see a slide?
Yes, although
okay.
I think in my recording of this, the thumbnails of people are covering it up.
Okay.
But we're seeing the right slide though.
Perfect. Well, I give a little bit of a sneak preview of the Better NATO description, but in this video in the bottom right corner is the autoplay of kind of this project that just started construction. I did not make this video, but this is something that the city of Portland has they just kicked off construction for this. And this project was something that really got me into transportation. This project and kind of the process that came about from it has really changed everything that I had planned. So I'll take a step back and say my name is Gwen Shaw. I am an engineer in training at Tool Design Group. I graduated from Portland State with a civil engineering degree in 2015. I'm from Portland. I've lived here my whole life. And I'm off to a rough start with this, but in 2015, when I was graduating high school or graduating college, I knew that I wanted to do engineering. To be honest, I knew I wanted to do engineering forever. since I was a kid, and I can talk to that in a bit if there are questions about that piece. But I was trying to figure out of civil engineering degree, what realm. Within civil engineering, there's transportation, there's geotechnical, which is kind of the earth, there's water resources, so making water clean and flowing, and then there's structural. And I didn't really have much interest in many of them except for transportation. What I loved about transportation was that while it did that engineering piece and kind of checked the engineering box in my brain, it also had humans. It had a human aspect to it that wasn't present in a lot of the other engineering that I was studying and learning about and had learned about. And so that was when I realized that transportation was really what I liked. And this Better NATO project was the capstone project, which is your senior project when you're graduating from college. Typically it's called either capstone or something similar. It's the big multi-term final project that you do. And my project is shown here. The kind of the bottom left set of photos show the conditions. The top half show the conditions that were present on NATO Parkway in downtown Portland. And then the bottom, so you have a lot of people waiting in line for the festivals, people walking in the bike lane, which is already narrow and just paint. And then you have people biking next to traffic or in traffic. And so the below photos show slightly better improved conditions. We closed that lane to cars, opened it up to people. So you've got people waiting in a wide space now. They can walk, people can walk and bike along them. You can fit strollers, families, etc. And it was just, we tested it out for a couple of weeks and it was amazing. It wasn't easy. We set up at 4 a.m. on a Sunday, had volunteers go and close the road, put the cones out, set this up, and then maintain it for a couple of weeks. But this was back in 2015. And ever since then, it has come back in some form each summer since. And as you can see in the photo or in the video, it's being built in full glory, full construction, concrete, doing things that we could have never done in our temporary setting. So this project really got me started. It was a pretty intense jump into what this type of thing could do. It really helped me realize I didn't want to just do the math. I didn't want to just run the equations and do all that. I wanted to do that in a way that really benefited people. And so transportation, ever since this project, I have been lucky enough to find ways to do exactly that. So I got an internship with the city of Portland right after college, or as I was finishing up college, to do some data analysis on this project. So the city hired me after my capstone project as an intern. I got to do some data analysis to kind of keep it moving at the city level in the signals department, and then was ready to not be an intern anymore and to move out of my parents' house. And so I took a job opportunity also in Portland with a small little local firm, and wrote traffic impact studies, and did parking management, parking analysis for a couple of years, and it was amazing. I got to continue with this volunteer work with Better Block. That was my first time attending OATS, this summit several years ago now. It really kind of changed my life and locked me into this transportation piece. But I'm not going to lie, writing traffic impact studies is not the most rewarding. I loved it. It was fantastic. You learn about everything that goes into everything, really. Whenever there's a development that goes in, so something's changing, a church in a neighborhood or an apartment or a new drive-through. We did a lot of Dutch Brothers drive-throughs. You have to, the developer doing that has to hire a consultant usually to write a traffic impact study that looks at the signals, the intersections, how many trips you're adding to the system, how those trips are getting there, where they are going from. Hopefully, if you have a city that cares, which likely the city of Portland does, you do some analysis on people walking and biking in addition to just cars. But traditionally and historically, it's primarily about cars. And how do you get cars to and from the site? How do you not impact the cars that are trying to drive by the site, etc. So I did that a lot, and I learned a lot about that. But I also realized that that wasn't what I wanted to be doing forever. So I joined Tool Design about over 4 years ago, which is absolutely bonkers to say. So I've been with Tool Design for 4 years, and we've really at Tool, kind of everything I've just said is kind of the mission and goals of this company. I love working here, and I love that I get to continue to do volunteer effort stuff, which I'm going to talk about or show in the next slide if this works for me. So these are just some slides, some photos, kind of talking about or showing, the range of that humanizing of these projects. So these are volunteer projects that I have gotten to do while working as a consultant in transportation. This just kind of shows it's fun to make stencils, get out and literally paint the ground. And then it's also just fun and amazing to see the joy of people enjoying and participating in their community in ways that normally they can't. Normally this road out by Lentz Park is not safe to just be in the middle of. There are cars driving down it, cars not paying attention. And this day was just glorious. This was the Lentz Green Ring Oregon Walkways project a few years ago. And these types of things just continue to remind me why I do what I do. Taking it into kind of out of the volunteer realm and into the professional realm, I'm lucky that I get to do this stuff for work in addition to for fun. So this is kind of taking that pop-up, do-it-yourself volunteer type of stuff that we got to do. And then this is how we do it more as consultants. So it's a step up of traffic cones, but it's not quite full concrete. So this is more quick build type of thing versus tactical urbanism. There's so many words and language. So if you have questions about that, we can go into that. It's also Google either tactical urbanism or quick build, and you'll find a wealth of information about both topics. But these are 3 slides from Houston, Texas in the top left, Oakland, California in the top right, and then Kirkland, Washington in the bottom, just showing, quicker ways to change our streets that maybe don't cost a ton of money. 1 block of sidewalk costs about $65,000. That's a lot of money, and it just goes to show that's not something that's possible to do everywhere all the time. We can't, given the funding issues that we have in this country. And so I think finding these new ways to do things quickly is something that I love to do. And in addition to that, this is a couple of other relevant projects that I just want to bring to your attention that might be relevant to you as folks that are thinking about these ideas, and then some K-12 materials. The Fort Worth Pop-Up Projects Guide is a guide I worked on for the Fort Worth, Texas, as part of their active transportation plan. But this was my first time having the opportunity to take all the volunteer information, the information I gained as a volunteer from my brain, and put it onto paper for pay, to be honest. It was the first time I really got to do that type of work in a billable way that wasn't just volunteering my time, and I got to spend more time on it than I ever had when I was a volunteer, because you just don't have the time. So it's a fun one to show the breadth of opportunities and types of projects, as well as some considerations about how a community could do them, how a community could permit them, etc. And then the Safe Routes to School Philly project. I know Philadelphia is a long ways from Oregon, but we just wrapped up this project for Safe Routes Philly, and we at my team at Tool Design worked on so many amazing things that filled gaps of stuff that did not exist. So definitely recommend Googling Safe Routes Philly, Philadelphia Safe Routes to School. They just released a bunch of stuff earlier this month, ranging from this is from an activity book for kindergarten or for pre-K, all the way up to 12th graders, how to make a social media PSA, or how to, there's also a high school level traveling through history to kind of do an interview and learn about the transportation in your community. So, and then everything in between. We've got kindergartners, we've got K through 5, and then middle school age. And that's just amazing content to really explain all of this transportation stuff in a very kid-friendly and exciting and fun way. Lots of graphics, lots of activities that you can do yourself, things like that. So now I'm going to stop sharing, hopefully do this correctly and smoothly. And I could keep talking forever. So I will maybe pass it off, and then we can just go do more questions, whether we ask each other questions or we get questions from the group.
Okay, thank you so much, Gwen. That was amazing. I did not know there were so many things for young leaders to get involved in. So next up, we're going to have Jeff Moreland Jr. Introduce himself and tell us all about his career arc and various opportunities for young people in his field.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Moreland Jr. I'm with Raymore Construction and I am currently a construction manager. It's interesting that Gwen is more on the design side. I'm actually more on the construction side. So it's a good yin and yang you're going to get, I think, with this, which is a good balance here. With me, I also am a Portland State grad. I graduated in 2014. However, I was a marketing degree. I wasn't a civil engineer. How I got into it was I know people that were associated with Raymore Construction, and as I was coming out of college, they offered me an opportunity to come more on the admin side. So I took the opportunity and I started off more so in the submittals and just kind of a field support role when I first started in Raymore Construction. Also, the main thing that brought me to the company was the fact that it is one of the largest minority-owned firms in the industry, especially in the Pacific Northwest. We currently just got the largest project ever awarded to minority contractor, the Division Transit project, which I will be showing you slides about because it's very, I think it's very important for people to know what's going on with the project because it's a big time transportation project. It's the first articulated bus that's going to be in the city of Portland, and it's going through Division from downtown Portland through to Gresham through the Division corridor. And it's, for the most part, it's groundbreaking, like I said, because of it being the first one in the industry. So let me pull up my slides for you to kind of give you an overview of it. So this is the Division Transit project. Pretty much what we're doing is we're building these platforms, platforms for the articulated bus. As you know, articulated bus is one where it's pretty much the length of almost 1.5 buses. So what they do is they put a joint in the middle of it so that it can make sharp turns. And so with that, they had to make special platforms for them because the current platforms that they have aren't long enough and they can't accommodate the buses going on within that corridor. Quick overview of it. There's 40 stations total that they're going to be updating to accommodate these buses. Like I said, it goes from downtown Portland to downtown Gresham. There's 3 phases of construction: utility relocation, civil, and then shelter and amenities. And then we've had to split the job into 4 work zones because of just how long it is. It's 15 miles. So we have it split into 4 sections: east, central, west, and then downtown. Some of the things about the Division Transit project, like I said, there's 40 stations on it. The project is designed to make Division streets safer for the pedestrians and bicyclists, as well as reduce bus and drive time. I'm not sure if people know this, but Division is actually one of the most dangerous corridors in the city of Portland. There are a whole lot of deaths that happen all the time. That's why PBOT is actually doing a whole lot of other projects as well on the corridor as well to help slow down some of the speeding and things that happen on the corridor, as well as help make it safer for pedestrians and bicyclists. And then most of this work will be conducted during normal working hours and will require work to be aware of the general public while performing work. So this project is very unique because typical projects you have it shut off to the public. In this instance, we don't have the project shut off to the public. It's actually, construction is still going on while pedestrians and cars are still going. So we have to be very aware of what's going on as far as a safety perspective too. So it's a really big safety project. So which is one of the aspects of transit as well. This is kind of a picture of one of the platforms, and this is very unique. We actually got this design from Toronto, Canada. Oh, excuse me, Montreal, Canada. So what it is it has the bike lane going through the platform itself. So as you can see, the green strip that you see that is a 3-foot bike lane that goes up on the platform as you keep, so the bikers can continue to go. At the same time, we have a little step out to where the articulated bus will be coming so that pedestrians can get on to and fro with the bus. And there's a little As you can see, a little wait behind line there that they wait for until the bus gets there. And then obviously they look for oncoming bicyclists before they get onto the bus. And then we have also shelter erection on there. You see the little shelter there. And then also a reader board, which will be the signage that's going there, as well as a lot of electrical work that go and feed both of those, both the reader board and the shelter. And this is kind of what it will look like when it's completed. This is kind of a graphic that we have. As you can see, it's illuminated in the middle of the actual shelter itself. We call this shelter design frames. And one of the reasons we chose it is because it's the most flexible for installation. Also, if one of them gets damaged, it's easy to kind of replace it. And then as you can see, the reader board, which has the signage, which says westbound with 3 minutes, that's going to be where people could see what time the buses are coming through. Similar to how they have on the MAX platforms. It's kind of they were trying to get that feel. Some of the project scopes on this project, and just projects like this in general, is like a lot of utilities and sewer and water and storm installations, a lot of underground work and trenches to do that work. We have a civil roadway and sidewalk construction, a lot of streetscape work. Electrical, as I said earlier, to feed both the platform in general and also the shelter and the reader board. And there's LED lights that are going to help illuminate the platform. Landscaping and irrigation, there's going to be a lot of backside restoration. We're going to have a whole lot of new planters and things of that nature. So that's an aspect of it as well. We have tree removal and protection and clearing and grubbing. Pourbacks and platform restoration. There's going to be a new fiber line going through the corridor here. And then there's artwork and amenities that are going in. So some of these platforms have special artwork, especially the shelters. The glass that's going on it, all are very unique to each platform. And also there are some specific artwork pieces that are going on a couple of platforms as well. So with this being a project where there's a lot of pedestrian and vehicle traffic, you have a couple of risks you have to think about from the construction aspect of it. The four main ones that we have identified have been the pedestrian and vehicle safety, as I spoke about earlier, working around active utilities and emphasizing on the major water main. There's actually a very, everybody heard of the Bull Run water main? It goes right actually down Division, and it's over 100 years old. So we have to be very careful that we don't disrupt that as we're doing some of our trenching and underground work there. So that's one of the things that we had to identify on this project. And then we have staging limitations because obviously with there being pedestrians that are still need access to the sidewalk, we can't leave the work zone the way we had it as we're doing construction. So we have to kind of pull it back a little bit and make it accommodating for pedestrians once we've left the work zone on a daily basis. So we have to be very strategic in how we do that. And then there's got to be a lot of site security and just general liability in general because of all the activities happening on the corridor. So that's kind of it for that. The biggest thing that I like about Rickman for Raymore is the fact that it is a very diverse company. It's 80% minority in the office. And one of the things that I would like to encourage, especially people of color that have not traditionally saw this as a route, is that there are people that look like you that do this kind of work, and it is a very viable career for people to get into, especially in the field, because it's one of the few jobs where you don't need a college education to get a living wage job. You can, if you start off as a laborer, you're making anywhere from 28 to 32 bucks an hour once you hit journeyman wage. So I just like to, reason I come to these things is kind of encourage people to get into those trades, especially because we don't have a lot of participation from the minority community in general. So that's kind of my main reason for coming to these things and kind of presenting to people, because I want people to see representation and see that people look like them are in this industry, and it is a viable option. With that, that's all I got. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Jeff. So yeah, I think what we'll do now for the remainder of the time is ask each other questions. I'm curious, Jeff, if there are any paid or unpaid internships that you're aware of for people coming into both your company or just other companies that you're affiliated with, for starters, because Gwen, I think you mentioned some internships too. So that's one thing that I know young people are interested in.
We currently have actually just recently hired a couple of new interns. So my company in particular has those slots filled, but there's a whole lot of companies out there looking for interns, especially interns, that are people of color. So if you're looking for those type of interns, internships, there's a lot of like Colas Construction is a big time minority owned company that also is looking for those type of people. I mean, pretty much Anderson Construction is a big time company. They're not minority owned, but they're looking for to diversify. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, but I would just say it's just kind of apply to them. Just don't be scared, get out there, apply to them. They'll usually bring you in for at least an interview, you know, and like I said, they're looking for people to fill those slots that look different. So don't be afraid to spread your wings and get out there and just try.
I'll make just adding to that. I had an internship with Kroger, so Fred Meyer of all things, in their facility engineering doing construction management. So I was an intern for the construction management side, but these types of things like the field work that Jeff is talking about, and then the design and just the project management and all of these things, they exist. I would have never thought that I would have ended up at Fred Meyer doing construction management, doing rebuilds of all the stores. But here I was spending a summer hanging out with contractors, hanging out at the site, at Fred Meyer site. So while they were under construction, hanging out with subcontractors, everything. I was just telling a coworker, I learned so much that year just by being there and witnessing and observing and hanging out with people. So definitely recommend to, I agree, send requests and apply for things and think outside of the box. There's all sorts of people do these types of things, especially look for facility engineering, those types of departments within other groups is another one. And same with the city. I think I had an internship with the city of Portland within PBOT, and I think that there's always opportunities. For my firm personally, I know that I don't know what the status is with the COVID situation. We did not do an intern program this last year, but I believe that we will be opening it up again this year. And that usually happens in the fall. Like summer to fall is when you're putting things out. It's always hard. So I think definitely just encourage people to look early and all the time. A lot of times there's summer internships, but there's also other time of the years that have internships. A lot of programs or a lot of companies, I think, will focus on summer because that's usually when folks are available. But I definitely recommend reaching out any time of the year. It never hurts to ask.
Great. I had wanted to talk about opportunities at various different levels of education. And I know you brought that up already, Jeff. But yeah, just various jobs you're associated with or know of or close to for both high school graduates and 2-year college degree holders, as well as 4-year college degree holders, just what one could expect would be, possible at the various levels. And it sounds like there's a lot at every level. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I can speak. Let me do it this way. I'll speak more to the entry level as far as coming straight out of high school. Gwen, do you mind taking the college route more so? I think you're more the traditional college route than even I was. Like I said, my degree was in engineering. But speaking more towards coming out of high school, there's a lot of unions out there that have apprenticeships. There's also a lot of organizations that do pre-apprenticeship programs. So if you're coming out of high school and college is not for you, because college isn't for everybody. And that's one of the things I think that you need to understand. It's okay if college is not your thing. There's a lot of opportunities out there, especially in the construction industry in general, where you can still, have a career. A lot of people think if they don't go to college, they're going to be working at McDonald's. That's just not the case. There are opportunities out there. And so the biggest thing is exposure and letting people know that it is the case. So as far as coming out of high school, if you're looking forward to getting like into the trades, I would look into the unions just first, and then pre-apprenticeship programs is second, if you can't get into the unions. The biggest thing with the pre-apprenticeship programs is that they help funnel you to those eventually if you can't get in. So that's always a good backup. But if you actually are able to get into the unions by just going on the websites and applying, usually they put you through a couple year, either it depends on what trade you go in. You have the laborers, you have operators, you have cement masons. So it depends on what kind of, you have electricians. So it depends on what trade you want to get into. But whatever trade it is, they usually have at least a 2 to 4 year apprenticeship program where they start you off at whatever the prevailing wages at that point. They start you off at around 60% of that. And as you go through your apprenticeship, they slowly start to bump your wage up until you finally graduate to get the full wage. And so that's a good way for people to start getting into industry, especially straight out of high school. And I mean, it provides like I said, a living wage job. You get a 401k, you get all that, you get a full benefits, it's a really, really good work. And on the flip side too, you don't have a whole bunch of student debt too. So again, if you don't want to, if college is not for you, don't just go to college and rack up a bunch of student debt. You can go get a career right out of college. Right out of high school, and live a good life that can support you and a family down the road.
Yeah, and to kind of continue on to that, I feel like that advice also works a lot for community colleges. I think that the trades and unions have, from my understanding, have definitely some programs and partnerships and relationships with community colleges. So I think my pitch, as someone who, for whatever stupid reason, thought that community college wasn't a good route, don't listen to me. I was wrong. Community college is great. I wish more than anything that I had done the community college route, especially for engineering, for those early courses in math and kind of the theory and stuff like that. You get so much more one-on-one, not necessarily one-on-one, but smaller class size, more ability to have a relationship with your professor at community colleges. I think I started at Oregon State and then ended up at Portland State, and I still think that if I had tons of friends that went the community college route, and by junior year of the engineering program, it didn't matter, and I was jealous of all of them for the experiences that they had had. So I think that definitely I pitched the community college route for similar reasons. If you do the college route in either community college or going straight into a 4-year, a program that we have locally here in Oregon is the CCOP-MECOP program. So CCOP it's Civil Engineering Co-op program, and then Mechanical/Multiple Engineering Co-op program. So those are, you apply at the end of your sophomore year of college. So you have to really be thinking in advance. And then what you end up doing is you apply sophomore year. If you get selected, you end up getting 2 full 6-month paid internships. So it ends up making your 4-year degree into a 5-year degree, but you end up with 2 full paid 6-month internships. So you have a year of experience by the time you're graduated. And when I say paid, they're engineering paid internships. Oftentimes they were all pretty well done. And I know I had a lot of friends at Portland State. You have a lot of non-traditional students. So I had a lot of classmates who they had families, kids, wives, husbands, et cetera, that they were able to have this internship help kind of support that. So it pays a good wage. I did not use that program. I actually did not get accepted. I found my own internships via conferences, things. There's Society of Women Engineers. There's American Society of Civil Engineers. There's all sorts of professional groups. There's a group for Black professionals and Black engineering professionals, as well as Hispanic professionals. So there's all sorts, and I'm sure there's lots more. So those are other just networking opportunities. Definitely recommend utilizing those. Now that I'm on the professional side and get to sometimes partake on that side, I love it. It's just great. It's so great to meet passionate young students who are interested in wanting to do these types of things. So I think if you show that you are interested and you ask questions, it doesn't even have to be the right questions. Those are getting your foot in the door is great.
Gwen, do you have any salary information you could share? Because that is often the first question young people have about various levels along career paths.
Yeah, I'll say when I was in the engineering internship that I had, I don't remember the exact amount, but I know that I was getting paid about $15, $16 an hour. And a lot of the business students, business administrative finance students that were also interns in the same program were getting paid in the $9 to $11 range. So that's just one kind of point of comparison for that. I started my entry-level job at about $56,000 a year. And over the past 6 years of being in the career have bumped that up to 68. So about a $10,000 increase over the past 6 years is, I think, pretty good, and I'm happy with it. I think that there's a lot of range. I definitely just recommend, knowing what you want and what you're worth. There's a lot of resources out there on negotiating tips and strategies. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for what you are worth, and don't be afraid to, say no if you're not getting offered something that you are worth, that you feel like you're worth. So I think there's a balance there, but in my opinion, it's fairly good. I'm pretty early on, and I know that there's a trajectory path forward for me to keep going. So that's my answer.
Thank you so much for that. We have covered pretty much everything, it seems like. I'm so sorry I couldn't provide a TriMet transportation service planner to join us and give information on that side of things. If you have any closing words, I know we've covered a lot, but if you want to maybe leave us with one parting idea, or a long parting idea, or many parting ideas, that would be wonderful, each of you.
Yeah, sure. I can start it off. Don't be afraid to fail, especially as early on. Try different things. Be brave and just get out there and try different things, especially people that don't feel that they have the opportunities and are not out there for them. You'd be surprised when you put yourself out there, what you're able to do. So I would just encourage people really to not hesitate and just go for it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, I think similarly, I know that in a lot of ways, in a lot of realms, the past year has been very eye-opening and changing to a lot of industries and a lot of people on personal and kind of global, all sorts of levels. But I think one thing that has become very apparent to me in the transportation industry, the realm that I'm a part of, is that we are very historically not diverse. And I think that I personally, and I think my company, and just in general, the industry is really realizing and reckoning with that. So I think I encourage anyone and everyone, but particularly people that do bring a lot more diverse backgrounds than I bring to the table, to come to the table and be aware that those perspectives are so valuable and things that have been ignored and dismissed for decades and decades. But we are now, for better or worse, now finally coming to the realization that we can't forget about those things. We can't uphold the racist structures that we have, and so we need to dismantle them. So I think that I encourage people to know that things are changing, in all the ways, but also in this little subset of ways. I know that my company is realizing that, the engineering pipeline doesn't exist for a lot of people. So we need to find other ways to get the people that we want, that probably weren't supported to get to the position that we thought we wanted. So bring your experience to the table. Don't be afraid if you're not qualified per the list of materials. You're qualified as a human, and I think that we as a country, as a world, are realizing that humanity is necessary and critical right now more than ever. And so I just wanted to put that in there, because we can talk about the technical aspects, but technical stuff only matters so much.
Thank you. So thank you, Jeff and Gwen. Thank you to our sponsors listed on the Sketch conference website, and thank you attendees for coming. Enjoy the rest of the summit.